there's always something new to learn is what it is. That's what keeps me at these meetings and everything else I do with this stuff is every one of these I go to, there's at least several takeaways from it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, my wife and I, this is year 30, full time. That's all we've done is photography.
Wow.
And so being saturated in an industry that long, that intensive, you tend to really get to know it, really well. And you can see the ebbs and tides of technology, and then they go away. And, trying to get into education and kind of helping people to grow past all the fads and the likes and the thumbs ups and stuff, and kind of focus on, the creating. That's tough. There's a lot of distractions. But I'm glad. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything else.
and even with 30 years of experience, there's still new things that you come across here and there, right? There's still more to learn, even as experienced as you are at it.
That's 30 years as a wedding photographer doing weddings and portraits. And then I go and I step into like the concerts arena, and I'm like a noob all over again. I'm like, oh my God, the guy moved. The light sucks. What is that? There's smoke in the way. And like all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Always stuff to learn.
Right. So we're 7 o'clock. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Sometimes we have a couple that come in right at a few minutes after the hour. In our case here at 7 o'clock, I guess, Troy, you at 6 o'clock. And Craig Stampley, what time is it out there in Australia where you're at? Sorry, he's on.
Right. It is. That's all right. I'm just having my lunch because it's 12 o'clock tomorrow for you guys.
Wow.
It's Wednesday the 16th already. And I get great pleasure in saying that every time I speak to Americans, saying that I'm in the future. It doesn't get old.
So, what city, Craig?
I'm based in Brisbane in Queensland.
Okay.
So yeah, I was going to say, I'll start here in a second, but thanks, Troy. So if you notice here, if those looking at the participants in that, we've got some of Troy. He's got a group out there, a couple groups in that he's associated with. So thank you for bringing in a few additional people into tonight's meeting. And then I'm seeing a few more of them from our group that are starting to join too in that. So appreciate it. So I'll go ahead and kick off the meeting. Again, as I was mentioning to Troy, I kind of go through a little bit of housekeeping items, a few of the things that we have with our club coming up, and then we'll give a quick it's not that quick of an introduction of you. The list goes pretty long in terms of accomplishments and that, but I'll try and get through those pretty quickly. And then we'll roll it over to your screen, or we'll screen share, and then you can go ahead and put out your presentation. So with that, I want to again welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. This is our 17th virtual meeting, and that all of those this year, obviously. But who's counting? We'll keep doing these until as long as we have to. But hopefully, come this next year, and that we'll have some opportunities to get together in person. May not be till the second half of the year, but we'll see when that happens. We'll do that. Again, a few more housekeeping items. A few of the upcoming things that we've got scheduled. January 6th, we've got a competition night. That's an open night. The judge that we have for that is Eli Vega. Interestingly, he was scheduled to be a judge for us last September, I think it was. And he had computer issues, and I got in touch with Troy about a half hour before that competition. So he stepped in. And so just coincidentally, he happens to be our presenter tonight. But thanks again for stepping in on short notice and doing a great job of critiquing and scoring our competition that night. Then let's see here, January 20th, we have a presentation on camera filters, Matt Theobald. January 30th, we have a virtual workshop. It's a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. It's limited to 10 attendees, and it's advanced drone light painting techniques. Russell Klimas is the instructor. And he's going to go over some unique designs that he can create with using lights on a drone. The software is called Litchi, Litchi drone software. And I guess he uses LumaCube lights. So again, it's limited to 10 people. There's some information out there. I think it's on our website. If it's not yet, I know there was something that went out just the other day to the meetup group and that. So it does require a pre-registration, again, limited to 10 attendees. That's January 30th. It's a Saturday morning.
And it's $99, $99 per participant.
Right, and it's like 4 hours, so it should be pretty comprehensive.
He's going to go through and show you how to do it. So it's pretty, the software is a little bit complex, but he's pretty good at teaching it, and he wants to make sure everybody knows what they're doing when they get done.
All right, and it's funny, Ashley just joined in here too in that, and she was talking about her sequence here with the drone. So her first step was she got her Part 107A license. Next step, we'll learn this Litchi software, and then she's going to buy a drone. So that's the sequence we go with these things. Let's see here. February 3rd is an exhibition night. That's where the group, we submit images, and it's not necessarily, they don't get judged, they don't get critiqued, but we all sort of weigh in and kind of add comments and suggestions and that to them. It's a good learning experience. So we do a few of those things a year. So we have one of those scheduled for February 3rd. February 17th, presentation on color management, and that is Joe Klosek is the presenter. March 3rd, we have a next competition, and we will be coming out soon with what the topics will be, the themes for some of these competitions. And one in January will be open, and then we'll have a few different competitions through the years that'll be open, and then some that'll be theme driven. And we're coming up with those soon. March 17th, we have Dale Ralph will be presenting on compositing. April 7th, we have another one of those exhibition nights. Again, we kind of critique those amongst ourselves, but not scoring them. And then the last one that we have, I think, on the agenda is April 21st, Impressionist photography, and that's with Alice Bender. And as the year goes on, or as the next couple months come up, we'll fill some of the rest of the slots for the remainder of the year. One thing I wanted to do real quick, especially we've got a couple of the big award winners from our the year-end awards, and I apologize we don't have yet the awards to you, but those are on order, and we'll be sure to, as we get those, get the photos out and give you the recognition that you deserve for such great accomplishments. But I'll just start right now with a couple of the photos of photographers of the year. Purina Zaragoza, he's on here. So that was for the, I'll say the intermediate category, and congratulations again, Purina, on that. And then Ashley Sertich, she won the advanced category. So again, photographer of the year, congratulations to both of you. As I mentioned, as we were going through those awards, I guess it was just a few weeks ago, both of those photographers have just been at it for 2 years. They literally both picked up cameras within the last 2 years and have really come a long way. So it's fun. It really is fun to see the growth and development that not just those two, but that we see from everybody else in the club as well. Let's see. So now I'll go ahead and introduce Troy. So again, tonight's presentation is on the business and art of wedding photography. As Troy just mentioned, for those who were on earlier in that, he's been photographing for about 30 years, along with his wife, Margie. She's also, I first wrote down here that she's also a secondary shooter at the weddings, but I think in their case, it's probably they're both primary shooters. So 2 primary shooters in that, just again, both with plenty of experience on the wedding side. Troy's also real experienced with portrait, family photography, not to mention that I've seen some of his landscape photography and pretty much just about every other genre of photography he's very highly skilled at. Certified master photographer at the highest levels in that within the Professional Photographers of America. Like you see, judged the California state competitions for the Professional Photographers of America, the California divisions. And if I recall, you've also done some IPC judging, or you've been educated on that side of it, or trained for that too. Also a great educator and mentor to many aspiring photographers. I just know I've learned quite a bit just in attending some of his presentations and other things that Troy does. Founder and host of F64 Live. This is he puts on an immersive 2-day photography educational event out in Southern California. I haven't had a chance to attend it yet because it was postponed a couple of times this past year, but hopefully, maybe come second half of 2021. I don't know if you have a date out there yet for that, but I'll look forward to going out there. And that's going to be in Santa Ana. Is that where the plan is to have that out in Santa Ana?
Yeah, Santa Ana. Yeah, it's
Okay.
probably in September.
September, got it. And then the other part of it is he's really active with the This Week in Photo, the TWIP community with Frederick Van Johnson. Frederick was our judge for our last competition, and Troy's really active with their doing critiques for their group and that. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Troy. I don't know if you want to mention any other things you may have upcoming, or if you want to just jump straight into your program. Go ahead.
No, that's awesome. I want you to introduce me everywhere I go. I
say that I know I left out probably 20 things. I just got some of the things that I either know individually or I cheated and pulled up off.
No, that's great. That's great. That's great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. Like Michael said, I've been doing this full time with my wife. This will be 30 years that we've started doing this, and it's just taken. Oops, I'm going to switch. I think you're still spotlighted, Michael.
Sorry. Let's see.
There we go. Okay. My wife and I, we've been doing this full time for 30 years. So it's been a lot of fun, and I love the ability to share and just sort of express all the things that I've learned over the years. If you guys have questions about anything, don't hesitate to ask. Like, I don't have any secrets. This has been, it's a lifelong journey, and I've had a lot of mentors along the way, and I'm happy to share. So whether it comes down to pricing or how we do our contracts or what we wear, what kind of socks do I wear on a wedding day? Because everything has a system, and I'm happy to share that. So, and I do know we're going to keep most of the questions towards the very end, but don't hesitate to throw those in here because I'm here for you. I'm here to answer your questions, and I have a presentation put together. I have some info we're going to cover, but you can always try to derail me. Before I get to showing you any slideshows or anything like that. Whether you're a full-time wedding photographer or you're a part-time wedding photographer, it's an industry that is ever changing and ever challenging. And it's also, if it's something that you're looking at doing, it's one of the most robust industries that you could get involved in as a photographer, because it tends to survive all types of economic disasters. COVID is one that it's doing okay, but it's one of those kind of things that usually they don't get rescheduled. They usually don't get canceled. They usually stay on the books, and you tend to book things pretty far in advance. So my calendar is usually booked over a year in advance. So those are just some things to think about if you're looking at getting into wedding photography. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some photos of what our gallery looks like to kind of set the bar of where we're at, and then I'm just going to dive in. So again, I just really want to encourage you guys, if you have questions as I go, throw them in the chat, and we'll save them for the end, or if it's something that's happening right then and there, I'll jump on it. So this is my wife, Margie. She does not like to be on camera. So I told her that I will put a slide in here for her. So there you go. You get to see her. Just to give you a sense, we talked about 30 years ago. So this is me photographing a wedding. This is probably 25, 26 years ago. I'm shooting with Hasselblad. And I am firing off just shooting as many frames as I possibly can, as quickly as I can. You're shooting from a tripod. This is a venue that we have shot at a lot. Now, I show you this video not only to prove that I had hair once, for some of you that are wondering, but to show you this video, how quickly times have changed, because this is the same location, and this is how we have to shoot now. And part of this is really this idea that times are going to change, and the wedding industry is one of those kind of industries that we have to change with it. You know, portraits in a studio, landscapes, those kind of things tend to be pretty constant. Weddings are going to change. The technology, the gear, the style, all of that. It's really going to change. And there's Margie hogging up my aisle. And this film was actually shot by my good friend David Schulman, who's in the audience. So we do all of our sales and our meetings and presentations in our home. So this is our living room. And it was important to me that we brought our clients to our home because it helps them to gain confidence with us, right? Because if they come to my home and they come to our gallery and they sit in our space, then they're like, hey, this is Troy and Margie. This is where they live. This is how they work. This is their creativity. Now, if you notice, like on this image, the left wall is a concrete wall. And then the right wall is that steel wall. And it's always really cool because, you know, the men and women, the couples, they all have different perspectives of how they're going to see the photography or the space. So the guys always go check out the concrete wall, and the girls always go look at the photos. But this is our house. This is where we meet. So we get a chance to show everything off to everybody. I tend to build a lot of my stuff. I think it's important that in your space that there's a lot of you that comes through, that it's not just a hardcore gallery all the time. I think that it's important that your clients get a sense of who you are. They should get to know who Troy and Margie are, not just, oh, they're my photographers from Imagery Concepts. So for us, it's always been very personal. And Margie, when she does the sales, when she talks to somebody on the phone, she's very excited for them. She's very happy that they're getting married. She wants to share that information with them. How did you meet? And even before we talk price, Margie wants to know how they met. Congratulations. And if they can't afford us, that's okay, because she still talks to them and we still help them, because we want that couple to go out into the world and make sure that they get a photographer that sets an expectation that they can deliver. And I think that's important, because it's not just about what somebody charges or how big your albums are or whatever. What's important about the wedding industry is that as a photographer, you can deliver, over deliver even, what you've said you can do. So many photographers go out and they build up this big sales thing, they show all these photos, and then they get to the wedding day and it's drizzly and it's rainy, and they can't create amazing work. So it's important that we're able to create what we promise, and I want my couples to get that, because that uplifts the whole industry. And that's always important for me, is that our industry stays happy. And as wedding photographers, we're not just photographers, right? We're scheduling managers. We manage chaos constantly all day. We're coordinators. We're therapists. Margie gets texts from our brides about which veil they should get. You know, like, do you like this veil? What about these shoes? How's this going to look? What time should we get married? What time's the best for sunset romantic scenics? So building relationships is also really important, because it helps me make their day work. So this couple right here, this is Andre and Joanne. This is a little video that we've made. Basically, we show this to our clients when they come here and see us in person. And there's audio, and you can hear me talking, but I'm not going to play that. But it basically just, I had a friend of mine who's a videographer. I had him come with me, and he photographed me, videoed me shooting a wedding that day. And it was a lot of fun, because this is a way for my clients to actually see how we work, what we look like, how Troy talks to the couples, you know, because I joke around a lot. Got to shoot with a fisheye. And this is just what it looks like on the day up. So we have this little video that we show them. We don't put it on the website. It might be out on our Facebook now or something like that. I don't know where Margie put it. But it gives them a sense of what we do. So it's a really, really good, solid promo piece. And it's just a lot of fun. The couples really love this, and you can kind of see the angles. Also, I'm going to show you some photos from this shoot a little bit later. There's actually some of the images that I took on that day. And this was in downtown LA. It was over 100 degrees. I think it was like 105. It was so miserably hot. And we really had no place to shoot except these little courtyards next to the hotel. And part of the things that I could stress for anybody as a photographer, anybody, is to make sure that you understand your gear and you understand your lighting and you just know how to work. You know, don't figure things out on the day. And this is Andre and his guys just goofing around. And I don't overpose. I'm not a huge intricate poser. I really try to take time and just let them play. So I'll show you some videos later. You'll kind of see me doing some more shooting, but I just tease them and I talk to them and I play with them. And those are things that you need to be able to do while you're shooting. This particular shot made it on the cover of PPA magazine many years ago. There's a little wall that I saw earlier, and I walked outside. I'm like, Andre, would you climb up there? He's like, yeah. And that's where he's at. Climbed up there. I told him that smile is right when I told him he looked sexy. And then going downtown. Just, as you can see, none of these are complicated shots. None of these are overly lit. I don't carry reflectors. I only carry a couple speed lights with me. Try to keep my my gear very, very simple and very mobile. So it's really easy for me to move. One of the things that is important to me is that I can really focus on my couple. I really want to spend time solving problems and working with them. So one of the things that I don't do, like I said, is I don't take reflectors, and I don't take, well, I take light stands for the reception, but I don't take anything to go out and shoot portraits with. If I'm going to light something, it's going to be with an off-camera speed light, and I'm going to have somebody hold it. Schulman, David Schulman, who's in the group here, he will go with me sometimes. And I have a very small light stand that I'll put a strobe on that he might hold for me. But I really try to keep the lighting simple. And if you're growing and you're learning, it's really easy to get distracted by watching other photographers who say, oh, well, you got to set up an umbrella, or you've got to have a softbox to make really good light, or, you know, you've got to have this much power in your strobes. Like, I'm going to suggest that you just work with less and then add the gear as you find the need for it, not just because somebody else does it. I have friends that shoot weddings, and they like to take along a 4-foot softbox and they light everything with that. That would destroy my workflow. I couldn't do it. I just can't. I can't do that. I'd much rather do 5 other shots and have them have a good time. And one of the things, one of my philosophies is, whether you're doing portraits or weddings, but weddings really especially, is we don't sell a widget. What we do is we're sort of documenting a moment. We're there to help them remember the day. And if we're constantly fussing over the couple, and we're constantly moving gear, and we're constantly setting up lights, and they're going to remember that, as opposed to, let's take simpler shots of more emotion and more excitement and more fun for them. And yes, we all would know that the lighting could have been better. Yes, we all know that the lighting ratio in her face is a little too harsh, but they don't know that. And what they know is, oh my gosh, that was such a fun day. So keep those kind of things in mind as you work through, you know, your growth, and then, you know, sort of take that with a grain of salt as I explain kind of my process. So my business philosophy is, for us, it's personal. So for everything that we do, it's really important that we can build relationships. I want to make sure that it's all about my client. And we're there to provide that experience. And we always want to underpromise and overdeliver. And I know some of those sayings can be very cliche, but in reality, if I work to make my client happy, then I can read them and then I can create work that they like. And that's going to help me in the end with sales. It always kills me to hear photographers talk about like, oh, I'm going to sell 20, 30 by 40s this year from my weddings. What if your clients don't want 20 by 30s? What if your clients want to build a book? Yeah, you should know. So we're really about trying to get in the heads of our clients and understand them and just sort of really relate to them. So advocate for your businesses. Oh, here I go. I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to advocate for our clients. And when it comes to doing sales, and I'm a big fan of this, whether you're doing portraits or weddings or whatever, sell them what's good for them, not what's good for your sales. And I know that sometimes in business that might not sound right, but you want these clients to last forever. I've got clients that I have had for well over 20 years, and I'm still photographing them today. And I would rather have a client that lasts for a long time. We haven't changed our prices in probably 20 years. So like an 8x10 is $75, a 16x20 is $325, and like a 30x40 is like right at $1,000. These are pretty much finished on Masonite, laminated with a texture. These are fine art prints ready to go into a frame, or a lot of times I do a sloppy border on mine, and we hang them on the wall. I would rather sell two 8x10s than one 20x30 if that's what they want. So you'll just kind of see that rhythm in our work, and a lot of our decisions that we've done come down to that, is like how we solve problems with our clients too. If our clients have an issue, they can have whatever they want, just make them happy. I want them to be happy. So when we talk about like building our business, and we talk about how we can build our business, there's things to consider in where you would market. We don't do any paid advertising, and we really haven't in many, many years. And so what we do is we try to work with other vendors. Now, it used to be, I'll put that slide back up in case you want to see it. It used to be that we got most of our referrals from other brides, but that changed about 10 years ago. And so I had to think, where else can I get referrals? Well, it's other vendors more than anything else. You know, the brides, they have this Starlink satellite system that all the brides somehow tap into, and they all decide what's popular that year and what month they're going to get married in, and you know and they go to usually they go to the venues first, and then they go to the DJs, and the photographers kind of somewhere in between. So what we decided to do is we decided to start helping our vendors. And what we do is we go to our vendors and we help them create content. We help them put images up in their bridal rooms. We do whatever we can to help them. So vendors, right off the bat, be friends with your vendors. Don't strike quid pro quo kind of things like kickbacks. That's not genuine, and I think long-term that really doesn't work. Bridal shows are pretty good. The problem with bridal shows is the bridal show. A lot of big bridal shows, it's kind of like going to an expo. Everybody's looking for a deal. The small boutique bridal shows are where you want to be. So if you've got a local golf course or a local event hall that you've photographed before, go to them and say, hey, I've photographed here before. I'll be happy to put some wall portraits up for you, or I can help you create postcards, and do it all for free. Just do it for free for them. That's your cost of doing business. That's your promo. Because they don't know how to create content. They don't have those photos. So do it for them. But be genuine. Do it for them as a gift, right? Be a partner with them. The direct referrals I talked about, like they do come. You'll get direct referrals from clients. but I tend to find that most clients have already told their friends, like they already know, and sometimes they want to do something unique, or they're out of town, or they want a different system. Social media and websites, they don't sell weddings. They really don't. What they do is I think that they're an amazing gallery. I think it's a really great place to go. Where's my pointer? I lost my mouse. Oh, I know why, because I'm playing it. A website. I had a website up here. Oh, there you go. So like my website does not necessarily act as a sales tool. My website is simply about showing a gallery, talking a little bit about us, a very little bit. There's no prices on here, a little bit about our portraiture, what we do, and some of the venues that we've worked at. There's galleries on here just so people can see what the work might look like at another place. And that's it. And I don't expect my website to sell weddings for me. What I expect my website to do is to be a gallery for me, and so people can go see my work and they can kind of see what I've done. That's cheated. You've already seen the other slide. See, so now I got to go to my other slide. So yeah, so with the vendors, you know, help them promote, don't charge them. They don't know how to create photos and videos, and they don't mostly know how to fly drones and do drone shots at their facility. Go do that for them. You know, they will be genuinely impressed because a lot of people want to charge them to create promo material for them. You just need a couple referrals. I have maybe a dozen, maybe not even that many now. Let's just call it, I have a dozen facilities that I've worked with over the years. If each one of those facilities refers 2 or 3 weddings to me that I book, that's my whole year. They might do 100 weddings a year, each facility, but I don't need the majority of their weddings. I just need the few that work really good for me. So it's really great. So I don't know if I have any photos of it, but we'll put images in the bridal room, and usually it's all black and white. Usually it doesn't show the bride's face. It's just detail shots, because it's really nothing worse than other brides being photographed in a room with brides of other brides, photos on the wall. That's always kind of rough. But it's always great because my work is in there, and they always get a chance to see my work. Again, most vendors don't know how to create media, so help them do that and build relationships without the kickbacks. I just don't see that working. It's just never worked for me, and I think that I want to make sure that if I refer a DJ or I refer a caterer, that they're actually going to be good for that client, and vice versa. So I think, oh, here we go. So this is one of the facilities that I work at, called Eagle Glen. And these are the shots that we put in the bridal room. They actually came to me and asked me to help them redecorate their room. I didn't have as much control as I wanted, but I helped them, you know, smaller chairs. But that's some of the work that I got to put up on the walls. So we talked about bridal shows. The smaller shows, the unique shows, the smaller in person. And another thing that we do is when we're at the bridal shows is we try to reflect and represent the facility. So normally, if you go to a bridal show, you'll see a photographer there, or any of the vendors, and they're there to show you off the best of their wares. The photographers oftentimes will have books from all over the place, and they're trying to wow you with their best shots. But most of the time, a couple that's going to a facility is looking for somebody at that facility. And so what we found and what we tend to do is we only show work from that facility. So our books only have images from that facility. The wall portraits we put up are only from that facility. And the facility loves us for that. Most of the time, we never have to pay to come in because we're a big promo for them. Now, the good thing is, even though a bride may not get married there, we did a really good job showing her great images. So she may get married in another location, but it didn't hurt us by not showing work from all over the place. So So represent the facility and try to show that kind of stuff off, and that'll get you in good with the facility. That's the key. Get in with the other vendors. So, all right. So let's just jump ahead here. Okay. So direct referrals. Make sure that you overpromise. I mean, you overdeliver and you underpromise. Always keep in contact with them. It's so important. If you're passionate and excited about what you do, that'll translate in your work. So make sure that you really are genuine with them. And I know this is going to sound kind of strange, but don't over promote yourself in anything that you do, because at some point you're going to have to deliver. And if you can't impress the heck out of them, they're going to be less likely to talk about you in the future. And that also goes with vendors. So if you're a wedding photographer at a facility and you're frustrated because the dinner's running late and you're losing your light before you can get out on the golf course, don't get mad at the coordinator. Don't get frustrated at the facility, because you're going to have to come back and work there. So, and just be professional. I only say that because I've seen so many vendors that aren't, and I know that none of you would ever not be professional, but you spend enough time in the industry, you come across a lot of people. So people are watching, even though you don't know it, they're watching you. They're watching you. So be genuine and be professional. So when it comes to, in my industry, when it comes to promoting my work and being seen by the world, not all avenues of advertising work the same for all photography professions. So if you're like my good friend Jim Doyle, who's in the chat, hello Jim, who is an amazing, absolutely amazing architectural photographer, his type of marketing is going to be different than what I would do for weddings. So take some of these suggestions as a grain of salt, depending on where you are in your market. But for me, social media and websites. So galleries of my work are just there to validate my work. That's really it. Social media is just a gallery so that clients can actually see work that I'm creating on a regular basis. They kind of get a pulse on what Troy and Margie are doing. Like, oh, hey, look, they shot another wedding. Oh, look, there's teasers from, Andre and Joanne's wedding. I don't pay for advertising through that because it's really not going to reach my client base. My client base comes from the vendors, like I said. The website, like we talked about a little bit ago, is really just going to be heavy in a gallery. It's a landing place for somebody to go peruse through your work. And I would also just caution, don't go too heavy on the amount of images that you put on your website. Our images are like our children, like they're our hobbies. We love them, and we want to show you all of our wonderful images. Sometimes it's too much. We have to try to keep our gallery small and to the point, and just entice them to kind of communicate with us. Our goal is just give me a warm body, somebody that we can talk to on the phone or meet in person. That seals the deal every time. I don't need to sell you with my images or any of that on the website. I mean, I don't even think any of my awards or anything that I've ever won are even listed on the website. We really just don't even talk about it. So, okay. So yeah, so social media, it's a great place to share your work, but it's not an ideal marketplace. So save your money on social media marketing, at least until you know better, and start looking at your facilities and your vendors. And nothing's better than face-to-face or getting them on the phone. That's really, really super important. One of the things is about the customer service side of it that I think that goes on and reflects for a really long time is that our clients, we will gladly give them back their money or give them a credit if they had to cancel or postpone their wedding for any reason within 30 days of the event. And if I book another event on their day, I'll automatically give them their money back. So for example, let's say that, you book something on, December 15th, 2021, but you cancel 6 months out. Great. I'll give you your money back. 3 months out, I'll give you your money back. 45 days out, I'll give you your money back. I want you to be happy. I want you to think of me later. If we get closer to the date and something happens, because life always happens, we'll be like, look, we'll keep it on credit for you. If you need to come, if you ever want to come back, it's always going to be here. And we have had probably in our career a dozen or more brides or grooms come back after they've found, their new significant other and they get remarried, or they'll do a family session or something like that. So that's always worked really good for us. Another thing that I want to kind of is sort of a niggle for me, something that kind of bothers me when I see this a lot, is a lot of new photographers are doing a lot of stylized shoots, and they're putting this work out into the world like this is their work. And yes, it's your work. Yes, you created it. But I just caution you that it's not a wedding day. And the ability to create something on a stylized shoot or on the side is not necessarily going to translate into a wedding day. Because stylized shoots, you have full control. Wedding days, you don't. And I just say that so that whatever work you put out there, that you can absolutely, unequivocally deliver, regardless of the situation. Rain, bride that's 2 hours late, doesn't matter. You can handle it. So, all right, let's jump ahead. I know we've covered some ground already. I've got lots of content that I've poured through. The chat is very quiet. It's a very quiet chat. I know you guys are awake out there. So,
Here you go.
how many weddings do we cover?
So how many weddings a year do you do on average? 2020 not included.
Not counting 2020. We do about 15 to 20 weddings a year on a heavy year. I will do, 30. The heaviest year I've done was 45 weddings, but I like 20 to 25 weddings. And it's a great question because we meet with our clients 8 times. So we meet with them in person. So everything from the initial meeting, the engagement shoot, the in-person sales, then the wedding day, and then wedding day sales. I mean, like the list goes on. Album builds after the fact. So 20 is my favorite. And I would rather have a client that tends to spend a little bit more money, and I would rather wait for them, because oddly enough, the clients that spend the most money are the clients that are the least amount of work. I don't know why they must just trust you more. I don't know. It's better that way. And our average wedding is about $4,500. So anything other than that is usually specialized in some way. So,
okay, there's one more question in here real quick, and that's, have you ever done a stylized non-wedding day shoot for your actual clients? This seems to be a big, with Southeast Asian photographers even traveling to locations like London, New York, etc.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. So when I say stylized shoot, so I'll just define that. When I say stylized shoot, I'm meaning a shoot where you've set it up. It's not actually with a client. So in my terms, when I say stylized shoot, that's me getting together with an old bride or a couple, a vendor. We're going to set up a table at a facility. We're going to go create a bunch of work for all the vendors and everybody. So it's kind of it's a faux day. I think what a lot of these clients do, especially in the Asian market, is they like another day to go do their romantic scenics and to have a bigger day. So yeah, that's not, you can call it a stylized shoot, I guess, but that wasn't my intention using that term. So keep throwing those questions in there, because I want to make sure I'm going the directions that you guys are interested in. But in the meantime, I am going to jump into the business of wedding photography. the exciting business. So I don't do any destination weddings. Somebody asked, how many do I do? How many destination weddings do I do? I don't do destination weddings because destination weddings don't make you any money. And if you want to go to Puerto Rico, great, or Costa Rica, or wherever you want to go, great. But you're not going to get paid for all the days. You're going to get paid for one or two of the days, where I would rather shoot a wedding and have a day off than have to travel for 4 or 5 days and only get paid for one or two of those days. So I don't do destination weddings. Not a huge fan.
And so Craig's got a question in there. What was your worst wedding, and did you end up with any great images at that worst wedding?
Yes, I had great images. And I don't, when I say, for worst wedding, I don't have really bad clients. I mean, I think that part of our job, part of what we do is we're interviewing our clients as well. So we try really hard to weed out the people that I would consider to not be a good fit for us. Not that they're bad clients, they're just not a good fit. Our style is edgy. I shoot with fisheyes. I have my bride climbing on top of things. I'm outgoing. I'm loud. I'm not going to do any heart-shaped fingers and backlit suns and overexposed. Like, I don't do any of that. Like, I'm not even going to do it. I want clients that match my personality, so that they're a really good fit.
Yeah, there was
a good question, Ashley. I'll clarify that. So for me, a worst day is it's extremely hot. I'm hungry. Maybe the bride's late. Maybe I can't manage all the guys. Like it's a really, really, really hard day to get things through. But I'm very fortunate that my couples love me. They love Margie more. But they love me and they want me to take photos of them, so they cooperate. So that's usually what's a really hard day for us, is at the end of the day, we're like, oh my God, I wish they hadn't been 2 hours late. So.
And Ashley's question there was real quick. If they're not a good fit, I guess, so you're determining this, like you said, through kind of your pre-work,
Yep.
interviews and so forth. And you determine that they're not a good match. How do you go about turning them down? How do you let them know that?
We just kind of play that by ear, but normally it's mutual. Normally it's really obvious. If somebody's looking for a really, really foo-foo-y, soft, dreamy, and they're going to look at my work and they'll be like, it's concrete walls. This guy's like, no, we're not into it. Normally what we'll do is Margie will just not follow up with them. And that we tell them, like, if you don't book the date could go to somebody else. So if we don't really get a good jive with them, we'd be like, Margie's just not going to call them back. And we've had people, pursue us, and we've shot their weddings and they turn out to be amazing. But that's usually what we do. Yeah. We usually it's sort of a soft sell after that. So kind of to see. Yeah,
and
Craig,
Dave
we all love Margie Moore. Yeah.
And Dave Purcell has a pricing question in there in terms of charging, and again, with your history and with the follows that you have and referrals and so forth, and that charging, he says, 10,000 instead of 4,500.
Good question. I'll get to that one in a second. So, we talk about Margie a little bit, and Margie as my wife, we've really divided our company, and in the sense that, like, her desk is over there and my desk is over here, and she does the sales and she does all of the client communications, and I do most of the shooting and the techie stuff, and then she's my second shooter on the wedding day. And what's really amazing about that is that it's really hard for a lot of photographers to sell their own work. And yet Margie, although she's a photographer, She's the salesperson. She's the face of it. She loves her brides. Oh my gosh. Like she loves these brides. Like she's in contact with them. She's still friends with them. She communicates with them. That is one of the biggest reasons people hire us, is not just because Troy's work is awesome, or not just because Troy got a PPA master's or whatever. Ultimately, Margie makes them feel comfortable. And that's what seals the deal. It's that personal relationship. They obviously have looked at the work, but if we look at our industry, like we look at restaurants, when we could go to restaurants, there were places that we went that the food was okay, but the staff was awesome and we loved the music they played. Well, then you're okay with where the food falls, right? It's an experience. So Margie plays a huge role in our success. As much as I like to think my work is really good, I think Margie sells it more because of her personality. Dave, so to your question, in every market, and I think this is life experience in any industry, and anybody in any profession, you can look at your industry and you can say, this is what this market will bear. Part of it is where I am in my market. I can't sell $10,000 weddings. Now I have clients that will start at 4,500. By the time they're done, they spent 45. I mean, they spent 10,000. But I'll use the restaurant analogy again. Let's say COVID's gone and we're going to go out and eat, and we go to a restaurant, and it's a nice restaurant. So okay, I know I'm going to spend a couple $100. But while you're there, they offer you a glass of wine or a beverage, and you're like, oh yeah, I like that. I'll have that. Oh yeah, I'll have another one. Oh great. Hey, you know what? I'm going to buy a round for my friends. And you know what? We're going to have dessert. And we had appetizers. Well, the money you spend at the end is more than what you went in expecting. But had you been told to come into the door, you had to spend that higher dollar amount, you'd turn around and go, that place is crazy. So for me in our sales, we're much more interested in allowing our clients to choose incrementally along the way with their experience to get them to $10,000 and start off with 4,500 and grow from there. So one of the things, and I might cover this later in the slides, but I'll just skip over them, is there's really 3 money-making points for us in a wedding day. There's the wedding day, so they book a package. We'll call it $4,500. Then there's the engagement session. Now the engagement session's free. I shoot that, but they always buy stuff from it because I impress the hell out of them, and they want to buy portraits of something, so they might spend another $1,000. Now we're up to $6,500. So after the fact, after they get their proofs and they get their images and they come back and they build their wedding album, which we do in person, I'll talk about that later, they might spend another $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. And all of that is spread out over what could be a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, depending on how soon they come back and build their wedding album. So it's a lot easier when they've chosen to add on the appetizers and add on the extra drinks and add on all of that than to give it to them all up front. So that's just how it works for us. Plus, there's just no way in this market. I mean, I couldn't ask somebody for 10,000 off the cuff. If I lived in LA, Santa Monica, or something like that, heck yeah, I could start off with $8,500, no problem. With the current packages, it's the wedding engagement and then digitals, and then you upsell a product. So Ashley, so what we do is the wedding package includes a free engagement shoot, usually an album of some varying size, and a wall portrait of some varying size, whatever that is, and a given amount of hours. And we really don't try to go over 6 or 7 hours because most weddings can finish within that time period. So I don't want to give them more time than that. We do not offer, or we don't give them any digital files at all in any of the packages. They have to purchase those later, and they can't purchase them until a year later. So they have to wait a year. And then if they want to purchase the digital files, it's a digital high-res JPEG of the image that I've edited, and it's I think it's like $500 for the wedding images, but they have to wait a year in order to get them. Again, this is going to be a divide with certain types of clients. So you're going to get certain clients that are going to be like, look, I just want to pay $1,500. I want digital files and I'll be on my way. I don't work with those kind of clients. My kind of clients are the kind of clients that they want to put wall portraits on their wall. She wants an album. He wants her to have an album. They want to put up images from their engagement session, you know, in their den. Like, they want wall portraits. And so they don't ask for digital. We do, however, offer what we call social media files or brag pics that we will give them. And they're like 3.5 by 5 at 72 DPI out of Photoshop at about 7 on the quality slider. So they're social media only. They're meant for Instagram, and that's it. So the business stuff that we've come to do has really just been sort of a culmination of years of experimenting in the psychology. And again, I just want to stress that you have to look at your market and you have to look at your client base to see if any of these principles will apply. I think a lot of the ideas apply. It's just at what level. For example, we proof everything. We print proofs. No digital presentations whatsoever. If I can't get somebody to come here to the house to pick up prints and to sell them in person, we don't make any money because nobody buys anything online. But if they come here and they can see my wall and they can see the wall collage and they can see the photos, it works so good. It works so good. So, and I'll probably touch on that a little bit later. So keep those are great questions. Keep those coming in. So the business of wedding photography. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that we have to be able to do. We have to be a counselor, an entrepreneur. I mean, just the list is endless, and none of it's exciting. Our costs of doing business are crazy. Miscellaneous costs, just, you know, what we have to pay for in our businesses, from being part of an organization to paying for our insurance and our phones and our software and keeping up on all that kind of stuff is just enormous. So one of the very, very, very important lessons that I learned in 2008, when the economy kind of took a dump, was it's my fault, not the economy's fault. And aside from an episode like COVID, for the most part, we're really responsible for the direction of our business. And in 2008, the economy took a dump. There was a big bubble, and my business started to drop. I went from 30 weddings to like 15 weddings. And I just kind of blamed it on the market. I'm like, well, you know, that's just what's happening. You know, I'll weather it. And I had friends of mine that were growing their businesses. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? You know, and she's like, oh, well, I'm calling vendors. I'm calling past brides. I'm calling and I'm booking shoots. I'm like, oh, you're doing stuff. You're working at it. So we're definitely responsible for it. But if you notice, like the subtitle I put in there, like, Who Moved My Cheese? There is a good book called Who Moved My Cheese? And I had it in my notes. I can't remember his name. But really, it's this idea that our business changes around us, and for some reason, we expect it to always be there, and it's not always there. So in 2020, depending on what you have, so if you're an existing photographer in 2020 and you had to struggle a lot, is it Spencer Johnson? Okay, Who Moved My Cheese? Yeah, fun book. It's a book that you should buy and then give it to somebody. If we were meeting in person, I would have bought a book and I would have given it away. So, if you have an existing business in 2020 and you're kind of trying to figure out what to do, what we've done is we've reached out to past clients and we said, hey, hope you're doing great. How about when this is all over, let's schedule you guys a family portrait. You haven't done a family portrait in a while. Or Margie, because she knows the clients really well, she'll reach out to somebody and go, hey, it's been 3 years. We haven't built your wedding album. How'd you like to build your wedding album? Or, my lab is offering a discount on wall portraits right now. And if you guys want to order any photos, and just keep in contact with them, and just don't do hard sells. Don't do, 20% off, act now. Nobody likes that. But just reach out to them, let them know you're there. We already have a bunch of shoots scheduled for next year because of that. So it's going to be soft for me now, but I've already got jobs on the books waiting for me because I say we a lot. Margie has been reaching out. So, okay, let me get back to my slides. All right. So the Spencer Johnson, MD, he wrote Who Moved My Cheese. It's not an expensive book, but man, the premise is great and it's super simple. So one of those kind of things everybody should have. So how do you gain inspiration? How do you find things to get you motivated? And this is a really good time, this downtime for us to look at things and find out, how we're going to grow and how we're going to be motivated. So for example, find companies that you really love. Companies that I really love, whether you really love them or not, like you can find your own, but like Apple. I love Apple, and I love the fact that they have this outstanding quality and they're considered expensive. I like that. Whether we agree with everything else they're doing in the business, but that works for a lot of people. Why does that work? Tesla, very innovative. Apparently, he doesn't have a lot of limits, right? Like he can just do crazy things, and I'm thinking, I want to be able to do that. McDonald's, on the other spectrum, they're cheap, right? Inexpensive, but they're consistent. You always know what you're going to get. Starbucks, they sell an experience. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. Their tea's crap, but I like their tea. But I more love the experience. Like Miller's Professional Imaging. One of the things that I like about them is that they've always put customer service first. Always customer service first. That's been so impressive to me throughout the years. So find companies that you can relate with, that you have a liking to or an understanding, or a restaurant or another business, whatever, and be like, what is it about them that works for me? You're most likely going to attract customers that fit your same belief profile. So grow that. That's really important. Make sure that you can grow and express that. So find out what makes them great and implement a part of what about that business that you love. So Dave and Catherine, this is just sort of a story of a client for me. We photographed their wedding. So we started with their engagement shoot. And this is sort of that clients for life kind of concept. None of these images, by the way, are hard to shoot. There's nothing complicated in the way that I've shot any of these. There's no gear, there's no reflectors. I just want to stress that it's just easy. It's just easy. But Dave and Catherine were the type of client that we spent a lot of time with, and we eventually photographed their family. This image right here, we photographed at one of the local golf clubs. Margie dropped the veil. We should photograph this. The venue loved it, and it's hanging up in their lobby. And now this is on all of their material. This is their image. This is the icon of Eagle Glen. And this image has probably sold more cathedral veils than any other image I've ever taken. Every bride wants this shot. But the story of the couples. So after, let me get back over there. There we go. Just some of their day, just having a good time. Side light, sun, nothing else. Go up on the hill and walk, have a good time. Fisheye. Everybody's got to have a fisheye. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that enter competition, this image, I entered at my local, it did not merit. I entered it at another PPA affiliate local, it did not merit. I entered it at state, it did not merit. I took it to PPA, international competition, and it went lone. So for me, the lesson that I learned is that your images are going to have a wide variety of people who like and love them, but I loved it. And so you got to really just be true to your images, really stick to your images. If you like it, stick with it. Okay. And then of course they had a baby. So this is all about that lifelong relationship that we're going to have with them. Just some fun backlit shots at a facility I can't shoot at anymore because they're gone. Now these images, this image right here is an image that Margie took from the side. So they're actually posing and looking at me. We find that probably 30–40% of our clients buy the images that Margie takes, shot from the side, which is really interesting. And it really kind of blew my mind, because my whole thing was like, well, you know, you have a second shooter there to cover you or get really unique perspectives, but who's going to want a shot of somebody from the side looking over there? They do. They love it. They love it a lot. So, of course, and then they had the baby. And they're just baby. I'm not a baby photographer. This is not my gig. So not huge into that, but it's that lifelong process. So, you know, if you're in weddings or you're looking to get into weddings, don't leave out the idea that you've got family portraits that come from that. You've got newborn sessions that come from that, extended family that come from that, and just keep in contact with them. You know, just reach out to them. We do most of her communication is through Facebook, a personal Facebook page that we invite them to, not a business Facebook page. We never run promotions. We never run ads. We never run any of that. It's just simply, you know, person to person, that human contact. That's so important. So we're going to get into talking a little bit about sales, which we talked a little bit about that now. We really strive to sell what's best for the client. And what I mean by that is, you know, if a client isn't into wall portraits, then I'm not going to try to sell them wall portraits. I'm going to try to sell them a book, or I'm going to try to sell them easel portraits or something. I want to sell what makes them happy. Always what makes them happy. I'm never in a hurry to push them. So, and I talked about this earlier, that I think that perceived value is at its highest when the clients are comfortable spending, meaning that the client has decided, yes, I want to put another 16x20 on my wall, something like that. We have a question from Dave. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Long question. Yeah. Time. You're talking a lot about time. And when you start sideways, just want to get straight in. Okay. So we make a schedule. So really, Dave, what Dave's asking is, you know, it takes time to create all those images, and what happens when it goes sideways, to paraphrase. We create a schedule for the day. So the venue, the couple, all the vendors get a schedule that we create with our couple. The benefit that I have is that my couples will do pretty much whatever I want them to do. So even if something goes sideways, if the ceremony is late or whatever, the client's going to work with me so that I can get the shots that I want. I'm also very good, and I can shoot very fast. You know, I can do a lot in 7 minutes. So it's not a linear answer. It's an answer that you got to kind of figure out on the fly. One, how hard can you push the couple, and how much time do you have so you don't ruin the wedding day trying to get photos so they can go see their guests? But the big answer is, I've already created a schedule. I work really hard to keep them on that schedule all day long. If they start to get off the schedule, I start to rearrange the schedule. If it looks like the ceremony is going to be 30 minutes late because somebody got stuck in traffic, I'm already talking to the coordinators. I'm already talking to the venues, and I'm telling them that we're going to push dinner 30 minutes. And I'm happy to go talk to the bride if you like. Have the bride tell you we're going to push it 30 minutes. So it's wonderful that I have a little bit of that authority, but I try really hard not to do that. If I get a coordinator at weddings, they can be the most amazing thing, and they can be the most hideous thing to have. They can get in your way, or they can be super helpful. I'm always going to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So usually the schedule, I've already worked it out with the coordinator ahead of time. They've already communicated with me. They know how much time I need, and I talk to them throughout the day. Like, hey, we're running late. You're going to have to bump this. Well, I can't bump that. Can you make this a little shorter? Okay, I can do this. You can do that. So the whole day is about managing that timeline. So, and that's where a great photographer is able to handle those things. And that's why I feel like I'm worth what I get paid for the price I get paid, because I can handle those things. And I'll actually hit that a little bit when I talk about rough pricing. Wedding days are weird, man. Wedding days are where you're just managing chaos all day. You have to try to be creative in a box, and it's awful, but it's also exhilarating at the same time. So if you got to be a bit of a, self-masochist to shoot weddings and be really good at it. You gotta throw yourself at it. So, all right. So perceived value, I think it's at its highest when the client is comfortable spending, when it's their choice. So we don't do any hard sales. So Seth Godin, who wrote a book called The Purple Cow, I love the fact that he says that you're either remarkable or you're invisible. And The Purple Cow is another one of those books that I think is really great, kind of like Who Moved My Cheese. It's really about standing out, and it's really about what can you do that's unique enough that people will remember you. And for me, it's my sloppy border. I put sloppy borders on all my proofs. I even have a sloppy border that I can, I broke it, that I can sometimes put on my frame on my image, but I'll show you what some of those images look like later. But whatever it is, maybe it's your style or whatever. You got to have something that people remember you by. So one of the things that we're going to get into here is how we build our albums. Now, these are the proofs that I was talking about. So when a client comes to us, whether it's a family shoot or an engagement shoot or whatever, we proof everything. And part of the reason for that is that we are tactical creatures. It's really, we love to hold and handle things. And it's never more obvious than if you photograph a newborn and you proof the images, and new mom and dad are sitting there, and you've got the proofs laying out on the table, and you're organizing them in the way that these are my loves, these are my maybe loves, and you'll find that mom and dad will hold photos in their hands, like they'll hold this one, and then like those I don't really like, but this one she's holding, like that one's important to her. And now we know. And it's easy to organize things and lay them out on a table and put them in the order of a story, or align them in a way that you might do a wall portrait. And, even as a photographer, we're all really good at dealing with digital data. But let's face it, it kind of stinks to spread stuff out on a desktop and try to look at this image compared to that image, and it's just not ideal. Proofs are amazing, and they're not really expensive. So, and they're a great thing to give away too. So we proof everything. And then on the for the album build, people tend to come back, and this is where they'll sit. They'll come in and sit in the house. And Margie always puts out a little plate of cookies. And that's another one of those kind of things that I talked about a little bit earlier, about like your uniqueness and your Purple Cow, is Margie makes these amazing chocolate chip cookies. And every time a client comes over, they get chocolate chip cookies. The first time they see us to the last time they see us to every time they see us, they get a little bag of chocolate chip cookies that Margie hand makes. She was making like 12 dozen a week when we were really busy. And that's just been one of those kind of things. If we post chocolate chip cookies on social media, it gets more likes than any photo I've ever taken. It doesn't matter how amazing the work is. Oh no, those cookies. We've actually had a lot of clients will joke, but they'll be like, I have a deposit for you. Can I bring that deposit by? Can I drop up? Do I get cookies if I drop off that deposit? And that's so cool. That's just so cool that it's been just one of those things. So in this image right here, this is our living room. It's not extravagant. It's not overly complicated. The TV is just there for a screensaver. We don't show any photos on there or anything like that. And they'll sit there and they'll build the albums there. So Dave has a question. Some grooms or brides need a little more skin work than others. How much editing work do you do on the proofs? That's a great question. I don't do a lot of editing on the proofs. I really don't. And I don't run them through any kind of software or anything like that because mostly the brides have pretty good makeup done and the grooms usually aren't too bad. I don't do any work on the proofs. On the wall portraits or stuff that go in the albums, I'll go in and I'll diminish anything that's really bad. I'll clean up flyaways, things like that. I would never remove anything that's permanent. If it's going to be gone in 2 weeks, I'll take it off. A scar, or I mean not a scar, but like a scratch or a pimple or something, or a makeup line or something, I'll take it off. But other than that, I don't really do a whole lot. I'm a big fan of less is more. So this next slide, this is actually a couple trying to decide which photo that they're going to put in there. So he wants that photo, and you can kind of see the table, how it's laid out. This is how we build our albums. It takes Margie like 3 hours to build an album. I think she could probably get down to like 2 now. Cookies on the corner. And she lost. But it's a very personable, very fun experience. They can come in and they can sit there. They have a soda or they have a water, and they get to hang out. So it's a lot of fun for them. This right here, this is what our books look like. And we had to put our cat in. Now he's giant. He would barely fit in that corner. That's Saturn. But our books, most of our books are the matte or the matted books, so that the images themselves are cut. Oops, hang on, I pushed the wrong button. There we go. So you can kind of see how they're laid out. So a lot of the current books, a lot of books that you'll see is where they're press proof books, where the image goes all the way across the page. We really don't do a lot of those. We tend to do these kind of books, and these books are very expensive. They average about $800 a book, our cost. So let's talk a little bit about pricing your work. And I just want to qualify that the pricing of your work is very, very, very rough. These are just examples, things to think about. Where you are in your market, where I am in my market, it's all going to be different. But basically, these are just some things to consider. This is just some stuff that I've talked about over the years. So, price where you're comfortable selling. I really can't stress that enough. It's really important that if you're uncomfortable asking $25 for an 8x10 proof, then don't ask $25. Ask $15. Whatever you're comfortable with, work your way up from there. Same thing with wedding days. It doesn't matter what the rest of the market is doing. It doesn't matter what your friends are shooting or what people in your industry are doing. What can you do? I would say that, somebody who can sell a wedding for $5,000 is going to get $5,000. They may not be as good as you, but because they can sell it and they're comfortable with it. So pick what you're comfortable with, but also what you can deliver. That's also important. So anyway, and price has a perception of value and quality. So make sure that price, you can deliver that, and you can grow into your price. You know, consider your experience when you're pricing too. It's really hard for a lot of photographers to think about how to price, and so what we do is we do research. Be like, oh well, you know, these guys over there, well, they charge $95 for an 8x10, and these guys charge 75, and these guys charge 85. Well, I need to be in there somewhere. Maybe not. What's your experience compared to theirs? What can you deliver? So, and then the price isn't always about what you get paid. Pricing pricing is not only about what you get paid. It has a lot to do with, you know, what you're delivering and whether they're going to come back, because you want them to come back. So let's just say that you're in the price range of $500 to $800. Like, what's the expectation that you should be able to deliver? You know, you should be able to get decent shots. You should be able to do simple posing. You shouldn't be necessarily an expert on the day. You're not going to be able to deal with the issue that Dave Purcell mentioned, you know, where you've got all these challenges with times and things like that. You just don't have that experience, so you shouldn't be expected to. So at this price level, the expectation is a lot lower. If you start to move into a higher price range where you're like in the $1,200 to $2,000 price range, you know, you're getting into that pro level market. You might be newer, but you have more experience. You understand weddings better. You understand the day better. You can help manage the day better. Notice none of these things have anything to do with how good your photos are. It's really just about how you can pull the day off. Can you make the day work? Can you get them in a place where you can take a photo that they're going to look good? And of course, you know, the higher price, there's a higher level of expectance. So if it starts raining on your wedding day, like in this photo, you've got to be able to pull that off. And if you barf a $300 flash to make the shot, it's fine. That's what it's worth. As you go up above that, you know, 2,500 plus, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, you tend to become more of that expert, and there's an expectation that you're going to deliver regardless. So your brides may show up 2 hours late. They don't care. You led them to believe that you can create this amazing work. You better be able to create it in 12 minutes now instead of 45 minutes. So, and then, you know, usually the more experience that you get, you should be charging for that experience. But you also need to be a resource, not just a bystander. You need to be somebody who can help solve problems that day for the coordinator or for the venue or for the couple, because you know better. And then another thing is having backups. So the more that you're going to take on, the more responsibility. I think that it's fair to the couple that your backup kit is actually a true backup kit. You know, so if you're shooting, you know, with A7R Mark IIIs or 4s, that doesn't mean, you know, an A7 is a backup. If you're shooting with, you know, like the 1DX Mark IV and a Canon, that doesn't mean a 5D Mark II is a backup. You know, to me, it's a fair backup if you're going to tell your clients, like, it's equal. I'm going to be able to continue to work and produce high resolution files all the way through the day. So, and then obviously when we start getting into shooting, you know, not every location is beautiful. So this is where the expectation of what we charge, what can we deliver? So this was a wedding that I did, I don't know, this is probably 3 years ago. They were a really good paying couple. It was a big package, you know, and this is the front of the church, and this is where I was supposed to do the guys and the girls. And so you got to make it work. You got to have the skill set to make it work. So I'm just going to encourage you to realize that when the days are beautiful, it looks easy, but they're mostly not. But learning your gear and learning how to light is awesome. So we did some scouting. We found this shaded hallway with this door that had some light coming in. So directional light, no modifiers, again, no strobes, no nothing, just 85 to 1.4 using the light coming in from that window. Just trying to get some really nice soft light and throw that background out of focus. This is where gear is possible, because an 85 1.4 is an expensive piece of glass and it's a unique piece of glass, but you couldn't do this without that piece of glass. Same thing with this. We had people coming in and going, so I had to shoot lower, just trying to use that available light. The same thing with her. Now I see it. I would have cleaned up the concrete every time I see this photo, but I leave it in there because that's just what we have to work with. And then of course you can always come in nice and close, so they don't even know what's going on. And we probably had, at this time, probably had 50 people behind us, going in and out of the church, getting in our way. And this is another facility, Orange Show Fairgrounds, giant wedding party, super, super hot that day. But I didn't have any place else to shoot. I needed shade. There was no place else to shoot on the grounds. I needed shade. This is my background. So make the guys hide everything, big water puddles everywhere. Now, this is one of those kind of shots. I mean, I'm proud of this shot, but this is the kind of stuff that we're all going to run into on a regular basis. We're going to run into these situations. So it was really hot outside, and she asked me, she says, I really don't want to go outside and do the portraits. Can we do something in here? And she doesn't know. She doesn't know that room is horrible. But it's so hot. And I'm like, okay, so we'll make it work. So window light, understanding my gear, we were able to make this image in there. Again, this is not complicated as far as gear goes. And I want to stress that, because I don't want anybody to think like, oh, you got to have this kind of gear, right? Window light, you can see that her dress is going outside the frame, because that's literally where the wall is. So I had to cut it off. Margie is hunkered in the corner to my right, trying to get a little bit of light on her veil, but that was it. And I think I took the thermostat off the wall and the outlet off the wall. We moved the chairs. But that's wedding day stuff, man. That's the kind of stuff that we run into. Then there's days like Tim and Karen. So we show up on this wedding day, and it is pouring. And I'm not talking like the wimpy Southern California rain. I'm talking like, this is like Midwest rain. I grew up in Indiana. This is like real rain. It was coming in at like 45-degree angle. It was pouring. But you've got to make the day work. You got to figure out a way. So what was fortunate for us is there was a short break in the storm, and I have several weather apps on my phone. Dark Skies. There was one called Rain Aware. I don't know if it's still around, but I was tracking the weather, and I knew that there was going to be like this clear patch was going to come through. And I told them, that's Tim and Karen. I told them, I said, we're going to have about 15 minutes, and I want you for 15 minutes, no matter what else is going on. And this is kind of goes back to Dave's question earlier about how do we deal with challenges, because they wanted their photos taken, and they trusted me, and they invested in me. They said, okay, Troy, you let us know. And so the weather opened up, and we were able to run out and get maybe 15 minutes worth of these type of shots. And then we get to the ceremony, and it starts raining again. Immediately after the ceremony, I was able to pull them out and do this shot. It was actually right after the ceremony, and they were sort of hugging and kissing, and I'm looking at my app, and Margie's taking photos, and I'm like, it's going to clear. It's going to clear. And I'm looking out at the sun. I see the sun over there. It's like, it's going to clear. I'm like, Tim, Karen, fence now. They run over there. We put them against the fence. I'm like, Karen, give him a big kiss, bend your knee, this and that, and click, click, click. That's it. It was like 3 minutes, and then the storm came in again. And those are the kind of days where you work for what you're getting paid, right? I don't think that if I wasn't as confident in my work, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So on the wedding day, one of the things that's really important, and this is kind of just true for, I think, pretty much anything, is learn to see and understand and use light. Learn to work with what you have. in the natural environment. I know that sometimes being a natural light photographer, I get picked on, you know, because it's the assumption that I don't know what I'm doing. But in reality, I think being a natural light photographer is harder because you have to know how to look for it and then do little accents to it. You know, we get there early, we scout our locations, and we try to be incredibly inconspicuous. We try very, very hard to not be seen in anything that we're doing when we're photographing. You know, always trying to be respectful of an industry and never to be this guy. This videographer had 5 tripods out on the dance floor in front of all the guests, between me and the guests, between me and the wedding party, between the guests and the wedding party. It was everywhere. It was horrible. And so, you know, we always try to be very, very invisible in all the things that we're doing all the time. Dave, how many A plans do you have? Bride's willing to see the groom before the wedding versus those that won't. Different religious needs, usually weddings like Indian, where there's substitute horses for traditional elements. I don't do Indian weddings because they're long and they're really, really hard. They're long days. So I haven't really done those. We have a lot of the couples, it's about 50-50 that will see each other beforehand. And usually what it comes down to is we explain to them the benefits of organizing their day. So to schedule the day, Margie will sit down and she will talk about what the schedule is going to look like and when the sunset's going to be. And we'll be like, you know, if you guys meet beforehand, then we can do these type of romantic scenics. And they'd be like, oh, that's really great. Or no, we don't want to meet. So it's kind of a split. When they meet beforehand, usually it is because they're cool with it and they want better photos. And they want more photos. They want more chance to get more photos. Because if I can get them ahead of time, I could actually do 2 romantic sessions. I can do one before and I can do one after the ceremony, which is usually really cool. So that's a lot more fun that way. So let me open this over here. Okay, how are we doing on time? We're right at 7:30. Okay. So I've got some video that I'm going to show you. None of this is going to have audio because it's raw video, but it's really just going to kind of show you a little bit of the shooting. This would be a great time for questions. I'm pretty much done with the slide portion of that. I told you that was going to be kind of quick and kind of brief anyway. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer in there, if you want to talk about workflow a little bit, I work very little. I use Photoshop, very little Photoshop, but mostly I work in Capture One. I find Capture One offers me a lot more control than Lightroom. I used Lightroom for like 10 years and I switched a couple years ago to Capture One. Both are great. I just, that's what I use. So almost 90% of it is shot through Capture One. You mentioned 8-5-1.4 lens and a fisheye. What other lenses in your kit? Oh, that's a good question. Is this thing on? Oh no, I don't know. We'll see if this. We'll see how long this camera lasts. It's flashing the battery. So this is my bag. So this is what I take to a wedding. This is all I take. So this bag right here is my, I like the top load bag so I can get in them very quickly. And my primary lenses are 70-200, 24-70. I have a fisheye. There's my fisheye. And this guy right here, 24-70. That is a 14-30, so I like having something that's a little bit more wide angle. And then my 85 is over here. My 85-1.4 is right there. I like that gear a lot. And if you'll notice that I just have I have two small bags. Where I can't point. This bag right there, that bag is a rolling bag. So Margie will carry that. And she basically, for her kit, she only has a 70-200 and a 24-70. That's all she really needs in hers. And we've just started using, you guys are probably familiar with this guy, the Godox AD200. We split between this lens, or I'm sorry, between this strobe and the Nikon SB5000s. I like the SB5000s a lot because of the wireless controller that goes on the bodies. It gives me a lot of really fast control, so I like them both. And that's really all that's in my bags. I don't have any reflectors, and like I said, I have a light stand that I take. So the 85-1.4 is the lens I put on my camera first, and it's the lens I keep on my camera the longest. I love the 85-1.4. Absolutely brilliant lens. A couple of specialty pieces of glass that I have is I have a 24-1.4, which I will break out if I need to. I have a big rolling bag that has like extra batteries, flashlights. It has an 80-400 Nikon lens in there in case I need that for something. That's fun for wildlife, but weddings count as wildlife sometimes. Sometimes I need a really long lens. I had the 24-1.4, which is really good for low light. Big groups, it works really good, and nice shallow depth of field if you need that. I have a macro in there. Maybe some extra strobes. I have like 6 SB5000s and one of the 8200s. I like those a lot. And that's it. Again, I want it to be super simple, so.
And Troy, I was going to throw out one real quick, and I know you've answered this me before in that, but when you're talking about your strobes and your lights and that, just because the light is changing constantly and you're going different directions and so forth, you're usually TTL as opposed to manual, right? In most of your wedding scenarios, is that the?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I shoot camera settings, so all day I shoot an aperture priority. It's really important to me in aperture priority because I don't have to think about manual exposure adjustments, because on a wedding day, perfect lighting this way, I turn this way and the lighting's completely different. I want to have a wide range of acceptability. Okay. That's also why I shoot in TTL is I want to know that if I put a strobe on my camera, it doesn't really matter where I point it. It's going to do its job, as opposed to manual. I'm going to forget. I'm going to look over here and I'm going to go, oh, look at that kid over there. And I'm going to over or underexpose. I just don't want that. So I always shoot TTL. And TTL is pretty darn accurate anyway. And it just gives you sort of a window of adjustment sort of a window of accuracy that I feel more comfortable with. So just really kind of comes down to how you shoot, but that's what works for me. Also on white balance, I set my white balance at 5,500 Kelvin and I never change it, because I can correct white balance later in post, and I'm okay with that. So I would rather the whole reception be orange and consistent, that I can go and do one eyedropper on one image and correct the whole batch, as opposed to me constantly forgetting to change it, because I will forget. And auto white balance is going to change infinitely depending on what it sees in the frame. So that makes my job even more difficult. So I like to pick a consistent white balance, and I stick with that. So 5500s work really good for me. If you want, while you guys think of any more questions, I'm just gonna show you real quick. We're not gonna really watch the videos. I'm just gonna jump to some points that have some photos in it, so you can kind of just get a sense of before and after. And I am actually gonna have to share my screen for this one, so that'll be good. There we go. All right. So this is the bride. So I like to do a lot of backlight. So backlight is some of my favorite stuff. So this is actually a doorway in the golf lobby. We've moved the rugs and things like that. You can see there's tons of stuff around there. But this is one of those things where I just encourage you to really understand how your lighting works and how you can work with it. So that's in camera pretty much. In post, I might straighten it up a little bit. I like to work fast and create more images than fuss over the images and try to make them perfect in camera. And I realize that's a little contrary to, you know, to how we learn. If you have time to make them perfect in camera, then make them perfect in camera. So, and this is from the other side of the door. So you can see how bright it is outside. You can see over on the left, see Margie, she's holding a little speed light for me. So shooting in TTL, what I'll do is I'll underexpose the background by a stop, let the TTL be normal. So my subject, or my bride in this case, she's lit good, but notice the room itself has gotten a little bit darker. And you can barely see the strobe. The strobe is almost not even there. And this is another one. You know, it's not an attractive stairway. However, the lighting coming up the stairway is just gorgeous on her face. And so as the light comes up on her face, it's actually brighter than her surrounding area. So I'm going to expose for the brighter light on her face. And that's what we're going to get right there. So it's nice. And what am I shooting with? Oh, that's the 85. Yeah, I'm shooting with the 85 1.4 right there. And it just makes the backgrounds go to mush. I would say that every wedding photographer needs an 85 to 1.4. it's just a must have. It's just a must have. Okay, so this is in the lobby, and I'm going to shoot against that tapestry, and then there's that. I don't know if this one has the piece of the tree in it, but I like the tree as the foreground. They got rid of my tree though, so I'm bummed. Oh yeah. See, I really love that little piece of tree in the foreground because it separates her, creates some depth. So that's arguable though. It doesn't do well in competition, I promise you. But as we say, I'm looking to earn green merits, not print merits. So I only care if the client likes it. So this is going to be another, is that the 85? Yeah, 85 1.4. So I'm shooting this with the 85. So I can get in and get some details of like her necklace. And this, I think this one is going to be a detail of her eyes. And all of these shots, I mean, normally on a wedding day, Margie is to tell me when I have 7 minutes. And then I can usually wrap up. I can usually get like 3 or 4 more poses in there if I have like 7 minutes. So we're working really fast. We schedule a half an hour to 45 minutes so I can get 15 minutes. So this is another good example of using a secondary light. Margie's holding it's just a single speed light, nothing fancy. And I'm shooting with the 85 1.4. I'm going to underexpose the background, and that's lit by the speed light. So the light's pretty good. It's soft. It's not super harsh. You know, it's not too awful bad. You know, I realized I don't see the chat when I'm screen sharing.
Here, I can share with you. Craig has a really good Craig Stanford.
Okay.
Good comment in there. It says, I bought that cheese book today. An 85 millimeter will have to wait for another day.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good call. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is the groom. So we'll jump back. So I tend to try to pose the grooms, you know, a little bit more masculine, a little bit more dynamic. Now this is actually going to be shot with a fisheye. Margie is off to my right. With a speed light again. So I like to do this a lot. So this is just really shooting with secondary light and available light, and you just underexpose your background. I say just, but you get the idea. There we go. So that right there is underexposing the background by 1 stop, and he is lit by the strobe. And it's nice because I'm actually working with the available light. I put the key light, or the main light, I'm sorry, in the direction of the open light source. So I'm just adding to that light. So it makes it a lot easier too.
And Bruce has a quick question here. Do you do a quick run through in your post processing and try to just pick out the best of the best?
Say that again. So
yeah, do you do a quick run through in your post processing and try to just pick the best of the best?
I do. Here, let me just, let's see. I think this is the last one. I'll show you this one real quick. I'll just let this run while I answer it. I do. So what I do is I use Photomechanic because it's fast. It's a really fast browser. And we only pick one of every pose or one of every look. And so the goal is to take 3,500 images and break them down to about 500 images. Usually the reason that there's 3,500 is because I might start with this pose and I'm not going to spend a lot of time perfecting the pose. I'm going to play with the couple a lot, take a couple shots, steal something out of there, and then I might go back in and go, okay, now just turn your head a little bit. Now just a little smile. Now just give her a kiss. And then Margie will go through and we'll pick whichever one we want out of there.
And that 3,500, that's the combined yours and Margie's? Is that?
Yeah. And that's high. That's higher than it used to be. So I'm a big fan of, I guess it's been termed flow posing or whatever, but I like the idea that if I'm going to have a couple there, I'm going to shoot as much as I can. This whole shoot that I did with them sitting here took less than 5 minutes. So while they're there, I'm like, oh, I'll do the hands. Oh, I'll do her eyes. Oh, I'll do them looking at each other. I'll do them looking at me. I'll do a full frame. Boom, we're gone. We're off to the next set. One of the things that I always tell videographers is I move really fast. If you need something, you got to tell me before I'm done with it, and then I'll wait for you. And then you can see Margie kind of bouncing around. Again, I just want to stress simple lighting, 8514. Oh, and you saw there, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I use spider holsters. I could not shoot a wedding without a spider holster. I couldn't do it. I mean, you can, just the mere ability for me to throw the camera on my hip and lean in and help them pose. It's impossible to do that with any kind of sling strap because that camera is going to try to swing forward. It's going to nail my bride, or it's going to hit a rock, or it's going to do something. I love my spider holster. And I don't even wear the whole belt. I have a belt and I put a clip on. I just put the clip on my belt. So I don't even have to, you don't even have to have like the giant belt. So again, just more of these, just walking. And I know too, when I'm editing, and this is sort of like editing workflow and post-processing, so it's a little different for everybody, but I know that when I'm shooting this photo, I know I'm going to put that edit on it already. I know that I'm going to go heavy on one of the effects, or one of my effects or something, or one of my styles. It just really helps. Like shooting in here. You know, it's a concrete path. It's not beautiful. It's okay, but I know what I'm going to do with this image. And you can see that I've got Margie off on the right, just throwing a little bit of light, just a little bit. And there's probably some post-processing, dodging and burning in there too. But you can see the look between those two. And what we do is when we edit our jobs, I do color, black and white, sepia, and special. So we sort the photos out. We pick all the winners, and then here, I'll stop sharing. We sort out all the winners that we're going to keep, and then we're like, oh, this bunch is going to go into black and white. This bunch will go into sepia. This majority will go into color, and these will go into what we call special, which means Troy can edit them any way he wants, and I can apply any kind of effects or anything like that to them. Surprising, for those of you Michael knows, Craig Stampley and a couple others, there's been some chatter about the borders, about whether the borders are acceptable or not, right? Like whether they're good. The borders are my purple cow. The borders are something my clients look forward to, and it's something that they expect. So that's one of the reasons that we leave those in there. So
there were a couple of questions in there, starting with Dave, like the three, couple of them are just comments there on the spider holster and that, nice work. Dave had one just has to do with the pricing and the order, the clients ordering the price, those just kind of based on the way that the pricing mechanism works on the app.
Where can you read the question? I don't know where it's at.
Sorry to unmute myself, but I've done this a couple different ways, and it seems like you're shooting more of a modern style of photojournalistic sort of a style where you keep catching the details and the couples, and you shoot everything. You probably set up the aunts and uncles and blah, blah, blah. However, your pricing things is you only get 3 photos that we're going to blow up or whatever goes into this book. So items like that, a bride, even though you are capturing everything the way I would in a photojournalistic kind of a style, a bride is never going to buy a picture of, say, a detail or her aunt if she has to put it in a book. You know, that pricing style is kind of driving what ultimately will be, I mean, she just wants the best of the best. She wants those fantastic, cool photos that you put out beside the few of the other basics, the actual putting the ring on the finger, etc. So I was just kind of curious why you even shoot them if you're pricing things like that.
I don't shoot anything that I don't sell, and I don't shoot anything that won't go into the book. I don't do tables. I don't do families and friends. I don't do any of that. I'll shoot them like during the party, but every shot that you saw like through the video, those are things that would go in an album, and those are things that are definitely high level choice options for them. I'm not one of these kind of photographers that I'm going to photograph everything in massive detail. I only focus on them, and I only focus on things that I think they'll buy. I'm not there to document every aspect of every corner of the day. So yes, the style is very photojournalistic, and yes, I like to jump in and I like to do little details, but I'll do like one ring shot. I'll do one boutonniere shot, and those usually end up in the book. And so just over our experience, I really only shoot the things that I know are going to go in the book. So a lot of times, like if you have other vendors there, like a videographer might take them and say, hey, I want to take them for 2 minutes and go do this shot. Well, most of the time, I'll never photograph any of that stuff because they're not going to buy it. So Margie has a very good sense of what the bride wants and what she will buy and what will go in her book. And there's a lot of times that I'll be like, hey, what do you think about the shot? She's like, yeah, no, they won't buy that. Be like, well, we still have 5 minutes. I'm going to do it anyway. But everything is really sort of honed down so that we know that it'll sell and that'll go in the book. The reason that we have so many images is we take out every blink, every duplicate, every non-favorite. So it's not like I have just so many images that I don't know what to do with. So and it just depends on packages.
I was just thinking, I've never had a bride tell me she doesn't want a picture of her grandma, but I'm very rare that they ever end up in a photo book of the album.
Right, and we're not gonna go do a portrait of grandma. Grandma gets in on the family portraits. If grandma's gonna be dancing with her on the dance floor or something, like, yes, we'll definitely shoot that. But I do know a lot of photographers that spend time doing the family portrait sessions, and they photograph everybody, and they bring in mom and dad and do just mom and dad, and then they get like, I'm not doing any of that. One, I don't want to do it, and two, it just burns time. Yeah, I'm just not there. But they would argue that it works for them and it makes them money. So cool. I'm not going to do that. So, yeah. So that's, I don't really have any more videos. That's pretty much the gist of the majority of what I have. So if you guys have any more questions, I would be happy to answer them. Weddings are big and vast, and they're deep, and they're a good business. They're a really good business to get into. So jump in there.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go off of mute and ask directly, feel free to also. Yeah, Bruce just said, thanks for sharing. This was very helpful. And yeah, this very extensive. And again, I've learned quite a bit about, not just in this presentation, not just about wedding photography, but photography in general. I mean, a lot of what you just went over would apply to portrait photography and family portraits and so forth and that, right? I mean, the whole business part of it is
Yeah.
very helpful.
I think the most important thing for any of us as photographers is to, one, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted by gear. Don't get distracted by social media following and likes. Don't get distracted by that. When it comes to gear, only buy gear when you need it. Only put gear in your bag that you're going to use, not because you read an article somewhere or it looks cool or somebody else looks like it. Wait until you need it and then get it. And then if I could say anything right now, everybody should take a hiatus from media. Like, take 30 days off of doing any research on social media or looking at any other photos, and just work on your own art. Just develop your own look, the things that you love and the things you like, the way you like them, and then create that. If you want to shoot all black and white, do that. If you want to shoot all infrared, do that. If you want to put borders on your stuff, do that. Your clients will hire you for that, because they'll love you for that.
And you don't like any of those three things, right? Black and white, infrared. Or...
you noticed that, right? Yeah.
Let's see here. Again, thank you for sharing. Harold asks, how long do you wait before presenting proofs?
We usually wait 6 to 8 weeks before they get their images. And our delivery process is they actually come back to us and they physically pick them up. So, and like I said, we proof them. So we tell them 6 to 8 weeks to get them ready and get them proofed. I touch every single image. So I go through, I hand crop, I hand rotate, I do color correction. I don't do a deep edit on them, but they all come out pretty close to print quality by the time I'm done. I can rip through about 500 images in about 45 minutes and edit a wedding. So I'm really fast. Somebody Lone Tree asked, I don't know who that is in person. Oh, is that Bruce? Oh, do you dress casual for all your weddings? And are your couples okay with that? I dress very casual for my weddings, and I can actually show you here. This will be good. I'll just do a quick screen share so I can show you what it looks like. So this is what I wear. I wear Keen shoes, which are they're like a trekking shoe. Or right now, currently, I have a really nice pair of like Nike's running shoes that I wear. They're all black. These are golf pants. I don't golf, but holy crap, the golfing industry has some amazing clothing to keep you nice and cool. So those are like black Adidas or Nike Dry Fit, whatever. And the shirts are the same way. I always try to find, like a nice, as long as I can, black, super dry type of shirt. That's it. That's where I go. And if it gets cold, I put on a black hoodie. So, I mean, right down to my socks and my underwear are all like golf sports stuff, so that I can be comfortable, right? Because it's a uniform. You gotta have it. So yeah, it's casual. And we definitely want to stay out of the visuals of the guests. So my wife wears exactly pretty much the same thing. I mean, she may wear a different blouse top or something, but it's usually black. So, and trying not to get sunburned too. That's the other thing. I actually have a beanie that I wear on wedding days. I have a very thin beanie that I'll wear. I got it from like REI it's a like for biking. You can put on under your helmet and stuff. So that's what I'll wear. If it's hot and I'm going to get sunburned, I'll put a beanie on. So, and it works. It works with the personality. So, Patrick asks, why do you wait 6 to 8 weeks to show the proofs? Aren't they excited to see them sooner? They would be, except I've got other work, so I've got to put them in line. So in a normal season, I'm shooting 25 weddings, 25 engagement shoots, and about 20 family and other portraits and stuff. So there is a waiting time, but they are going to go on a honeymoon and they're going to deal with life. So 6 to 8 weeks really isn't that long. But one of the things that we will do is we will send them teasers. So what we'll do is about the first week, we'll go through the images and we'll pick 2 or 3 images, and those are teasers. And I'll edit those, and then I send them to Margie. And then Margie will, like a week later, post one on social media and say, hey, congratulations. Hope you guys are having fun in Cancun or wherever you are. And they love that. And here's the best part. Here's the secret for that. The next 1 or 2 images, you don't post on your social media. You send them to the bride privately and say, hey, here's another teaser. I thought you'd love to see this. And then she'll share it on social media. And you can't write as nice a stuff about yourself as your bride can write about you and get away with it. And so that's super awesome. So then we'll do that where Margie will send them teasers up until they get their images. Now, the important part of this is that you don't show them your favorite images. You don't show them the best. You keep those for when they come over. So you've got to make sure that you pick images that don't look like everybody else's before, and they're not the best images out of their set. It's just some nice teasers to kind of keep them excited. So then when they come over and then they're looking through their proofs, they're like, oh my God, I didn't see this one. This is great. It's a win, under promise and over deliver. Yeah. Then they're stoked.
Let's see, there's one more up there. Let's see, Phil had to drop off. Just above there, Craig asked, has an IR, infrared image, ever ended up in a client's album or as a print?
Yes, actually it has. In not as many as I would like, and I'll be honest, I don't try really, really hard to get infrared images on the wedding day because you gotta have the right situation, right? You gotta have the right clouds and the right trees. But we have definitely had some make it into the wedding album and into their wall collages, which has been really cool. I was going to show you, I'll just end with this. I know we're about done. So I was going to show you what my final product with my client looks like. Here, I'll show you this right here. Oh, we'll just do Finder. There we go. So this is very much what we build for our clients. So we don't sell frames. We do everything on Masonite with a cleat on the back. You could do this with aluminum. And the idea is that they can build more images from this. They can add images to this collection. This is Tim and Karen. You saw that one photo in there. This is their wall collage. And they stenciled the words up there. Here's another one. So that's their engagement. That's just the engagement session that we did. So they'll probably create another collection somewhere. Or the cool thing is, and we have hundreds of these, by the way, we get these photos from our clients all the time. If they get pregnant and they have kids, they'll add to that. And that's awesome. We have a family that's been coming back to us for 20 years. And she's got one wall collage that's got 50 images in it. I hung it for her one time. It's great. It's this perpetual growth. And of course, they can't go to somebody else and add to the wall collage. They have to come to me because it's my sloppy border. It's mounted the way that I mount them. So they're kind of hooked with me, right? Like hopefully they love me and they come back anyway. But that's just another way to create a purple cow, create a uniqueness. So hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that was, it's fun to see them on display like that too. Yeah.
And this is where Margie really comes in, because Margie is really good at building these wall collages. I personally don't like to do sales, and I'll be honest with you. If it was just me alone, I would probably shoot and deliver and be gone, because I'm not one I'm not going to be on, chatting on Facebook Messenger with all my brides. That's not me. I mean, I love them, but I want to create and I want to move on. I want to be the creative artist that lives in this little hut and creates cool stuff, and somebody comes and takes it away and goes and sells it for me. You know, that's what I want to do. Luckily, my wife does that with my wedding work, you know? So you got to kind of find that balance for yourself, like how that works. But it's great that we have evolved to this because it sells really well and it's really easy.
Okay, if there's no more questions, again, thank you so much though for this.
Sure.
Was really insightful. A lot of very positive comments coming through here in that in terms of
I paid all of them.
again,
I sent them all money.
But no, this was really informative. And like I was saying earlier in that, just, I mean, you know, from a wedding standpoint, so much value in this presentation, but also so much of this that can get carried forward into a lot of things that we do. So
Yeah, thanks. Very good.
Yep.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Very glad I could help you. You
All
guys
right.
can always find me on TWIP if you're part of TWIP, or you can email me if you want. If you have any questions, you can just email me at troy@imageryconcepts.com. I'm happy to help you if I can.
Yeah, and with that, I'll add to it also is that when Troy volunteers that and says that he'll answer any questions that you have that come up later on, he's sincere about that. I've talked to him a couple of times just one-on-one, and you know, whether it's advice on processing or just other photography things in general, infrared, or if it's you know, like I say, processing and that he definitely is a great source to reach out to. So appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to help.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I hope everybody has a great holiday. Stay safe. Anything else to add?
I'll just say it's been a great year, an interesting year, but this is the final presentation, the final meeting of the year. So I just want to thank everybody from the Lone Tree Club, and also for the guests that we had tonight for coming to our final event of the year. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks. All right, everybody. Have a good holiday.
Take care.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.